It's hard to sync it's because the countdown.
No, that's not the problem. The problem is that you guys gave me the wrong mic after Sydney.
You still don't have a stand?
Yeah, so I can't, I have to either find a screw or a stand that can do it, and I sort of forgot to do that ever since I got back. And
that's funny.
Now I'm just sitting here holding the mic in my hand like a fucking idiot. Just sort of.
I'm looking at the screw you need right now, right in front of me. To be honest,
man, that's sick. Maybe you can FedEx it, and I can pay $100 customs
for a $5 piece of $5 piece of gear.
Yeah, or something stupid like that.
Someone's got to have something like that out in Belgrade.
Yeah, man. I'm sure.
There's got to be a store
find
somewhere.
A fucking screw, Jason. I just didn't really think about it, to be honest with you. I've just been having a good time. Just gym, playing video games. Those are the two things that I've set on my agenda.
Hell yeah, baby.
Pretty much.
That's all I got on my agenda now. Speaking of having fun, we should just address this. Yanko and I have been doing these episodes, just the two of us, for the past, I think, 3 episodes now. Chad's having his own good time out in Australia, and I think he's extended his trip to stay in Australia about 3 or 4 times from when he was originally meant to go home. So we've just made the executive decision, Chatty, just take off, just chill, don't worry about it. I think his return is slated for sometime in December. But for a guy who gets to go, I think this is his first time home since COVID began, and even before that, it was once every 2 years, that he was going home. So. Yeah, he's having some rest and relaxation.
Yeah, man.
Just as an update of that to the viewer, to
recharging his batteries, and he'll be back. In the meantime, maybe we'll get someone to pop on, give us some company.
Yeah,
yeah,
we can get a guest for the next episode for sure.
Yeah, because also, you're just boring talking to you, Jason. To be honest, just one-on-one. You're not a very funny guy anymore. Ever since you had the dogs and the kid and everything.
Since the family life has come out, I've changed.
Yeah, I can imagine. You just came back from Bucharest, I remember Bucharest from years past. I can imagine it was a different experience this time around.
Well, yeah. Not as different as you might think, but yeah. Yeah, we got up to some shenanigans. It is funny. I do have to live it's like you come home, you're the family man, and you go back to these events, and you're just you're like a kid again. It's it's like
now you know how Natu felt all those years ago.
Natu, and OJ and Trace for a while there. He had the kid before me, so it's Anders. The dad life in this industry is interesting. It's
I think just getting away from it all is nice sometimes. Not like, that you're bored at home, where it's like you don't like the situation in which you're in. Just like just like a little vacation, and then you come back and you're feeling great again. I think it's the best job in the world, man.
It's mostly, I just suck at staying up late these days, But I mean, Bucharest was its own different animal. Working that event was crazy because I was operating on, I think, 3 different time zones. I came over from East Coast, North America, staying in Bucharest, which is European time zone, obviously. Not even the normal European time zone, even an hour further ahead, and then working in an Asian time zone. Because the event was obviously going on in Shanghai. So my body, there was one of those events where I just had no chance of ever actually acclimating to jet lag. I was just there. Most nights were 3-4 hours of sleep, 6 if I was lucky. So I came home and I died last night. I just went to bed and I just disappeared from the universe, I think.
Yeah, what you think about the tournament, the games and stuff? FaZe,
it was
FaZe
good.
Fucking wins again. I only caught some games every now and then because of also time zone is shitty, and I'm how many times, man? How many times is FaZe going to get away with it? It seems
the comeback,
every game they play, it's either extremely close or they have some massive comeback. It felt like the bullshit FaZe that was winning.
Yeah.
In 2022.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that was fun to watch. Like the amount of comeback. I mean, their first day was crazy. Like 5 overtimes against NIP into that best of 3 against Mouse. They had to have another comeback. But yeah, they had a wild event to watch, and for them to come out on top is super impressive.
And just as you're talking, I'm getting on the HLTV event page just to check some results, stats,
some statistics,
whatever. Right? FaZe is the 5th rated team at the tournament. Actually,
yeah,
they have a 1.03 rating, as a team. That's like the only 3 teams that are below them are the Chinese teams. That's mental. Like Astralis is at 1.19 all the way up there. You have Blame, Device, and Stare all in the top 5 in terms of like individually, right?
Well, yeah, and Stare had like a really, really good group stage, and he had a couple like individual isolated good maps in the playoffs, but dropped off a little bit. Device was the opposite, where he was like better in the playoffs, but a little bit quiet during the group stage. I mean, overall, the event was really cool. I think the thing that kind of was, I mean, as always, it was a little bit of a bummer just because we actually, this was one of those events we came in, and especially after seeing the Asian teams in Pro League, we were kind of like, all right, event in Shanghai. Lin Vision looked good in Pro League. Tai Lu had Cyclone, who looked who maybe played some close games at Pro League. So we went into day one like trying to like hype up a little like the possibility of some of the upsets on like day one. It was like Tai Lu and Astralis and Lin Vision against NIP, I want to say, and neither of them happened. It was just like a little bit of a bummer, but it turned out okay, because if any of those upsets had happened, it would have really fucked the playoff bracket. But it would have been nice to get an upset, right? It would have been nice to see those Asian teams once again take like a small step forward.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was also weird, it's, well, I can't remember last time we had semis and the final on the same day. Right?
Yeah, we talked. We talked about that as well.
FaZe, it happened a few times where they have to like play 2 games, and the first game, I think it was also, on the day they played NIP in 5 overtimes, they have to play 1 more best of 3 right after that. I think that was the one against Mouse, and somehow they still win those. Like they lose the first map even, and they grind it out even with, obviously the jet lag is going to be a bit of a factor still on like day 1 or day 2, whenever it was. So. It was just incredible, the resilience that they showed, especially under the circumstances, I feel like.
Yeah, it's almost like being put in those situations like hardens their mental like even more. It gives them like something to kind of like get stronger about and have that conversation as a team, because like that felt like what they struggled with for so long. Towards the end of CSGO was that kind of lack of a real mental game. I know Chad, always positioned it as, they don't really have a goal. Like, what's the motivation? They don't really have anything to kind of get this team focused on the same thing. It's like sometimes it seems like when they get into these comeback modes and these like really long, hard days, they come together like much more better than we normally see them.
Yeah, that sounds really nice, but I just feel, unfortunately, it's one of those things where, they know changes are going to happen to the team at a certain point in time in the near future. So it's like, fuck it, let's just ride it out. And we've seen that throughout the history of Counter-Strike so many times. Well, that alleviates a lot of the pressure, and then you can just focus on playing, not overcomplicate, and sort of just kind of trying to have more fun, right? And just play the game without worrying too much about fucking up and whatnot. And yeah, that's how when you play loose, especially with FaZe, how their team is like, and the players that they have on the roster, that's probably when they're going to play their best CS. And bro, they won 3 tournaments in like 3 weeks, 600K in prize money. Like, sure, one of them was online.
Oh,
I liked your
that.
point.
Okay,
no, I liked your point. I agree as well. I don't know why people are putting it in the same boat. Sure, it's some good teams were in that tournament, and it was a lot of prize money, but come on, bro, it's an online tournament. Like, can we all just relax? Especially in CS2, where the game feels much worse online compared to LAN, or at least did at the time.
Yeah, I was so, I mean, to be fair, like I was exhausted, and you know what? I could have maybe found a better timing for that tweet, because it was like an hour after the finals ended, but I was so tired, and I was just like looking around on Twitter, and I was like listening to the broadcast, and like Bless said it on the broadcast. Man. Yeah, I did. I got like just mad annoyed, and like it's not actually that big of a deal. It doesn't actually like really piss me off that much. I'm just sat there and I'm just like, why are we trying to like make this up? Like there's three, big tournaments in a row, one for FaZe, like, and one of them is online. Like we've never done this before.
I think it's fine to say that they haven't lost a match in 3 tournaments or the streak. I think that's okay. You just say, okay, the one tournament in there was online, but I think it's all right.
Yeah, I know. I think people like misconstrued it because I wasn't trying to take away from the win online, and I obviously I wasn't even trying to take away from the tournament at all. That was run by Thunderpick. It was just kind of like, this is like a silly thing to like lump in with like LAN victories, which in the history of Counter-Strike we've always separated and made those distinctions. And for whatever reason, this time around the distinction wasn't being made, and that was very strange to me. So yeah, they've won 2 LAN events and 1 online event in a row. Super impressive, but like you said, it seems like kind of like I don't know, like it's this FaZe lineup isn't going to last much deeper into CS2.
Yeah,
which is weird, which is kind of I don't know. I'm excited for Twist to go over to Liquid. I think that team's going to be good, but it is kind of like a shame that like we waited so long for FaZe to get back on track, and now that we're here, we also know that it's not going to last long.
Yeah, and also there's a whole fucking thing there to figure out with the Complexity's parent company buying FaZe. So it's like you can't have 2 teams, obviously.
Well, you'd imagine, yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. And it's like the big one obviously is the major, and they've already kind of come out and like both of these lineups, as long as the current ownership stays the way it is, cannot attend the major. One of Complexity or FaZe goes to the major. So it's a very weird situation. And that's also like a situation where I don't think the players would so much be involved in the decision-making process. So I don't even know if they know what's going on truly at that level.
I mean, I can imagine, especially someone like Carrigan is like inquiring, right? What's going on? Like you want to get ahead of the curve. I mean, obviously you want to have someone to play for and get paid a salary, right, and get the support you need from a organization, and also obviously be able to compete in all the big tournaments, right? Like it's not even as simple as, oh yeah, why don't the Falcons just buy them out? Well, like they don't have slots in any tournaments next year. Sure, from 2025, that doesn't matter as much, but you might find yourself in a situation when you don't play you miss some of the biggest tournaments of the year, right? And for guys who are deep in, veterans in their careers, it's like that's not really super enticing regardless of the money.
Well, here's what's interesting too, is like this is like an angle on it, and I haven't heard anything like really along these lines, but just for the sake of having a little bit of fun with the hypothetical scenario, if you're Complexity, the organization, is there any world in which you say, yeah, our North American squad's starting to do really good and is on the rise, but what about this FaZe team? Like some of the biggest names in Counter-Strike, they've now won 2 LAN events in a row, 1 big online event. They're looking solid. They're going to lose Twist, but is there a world in which Complexity just says, why don't we just make this the Complexity team?
Wait, the FaZe lineup and
yeah. And let go of the North American side.
I don't know, man. Like, if anything, sure, like FaZe has been doing great lately, but with the whole Twist situation, you're wondering how much does that play into it all. And also you have to look at the running cost. Like it costs way less to run this Complexity lineup than it would the FaZe lineup under the Complexity brand, right?
Yeah.
And Complexity just had a great run themselves at Sydney, right? Like shown that they're capable of a lot more that we've seen from them in the past. And maybe you just want to let that sort of run itself and see, maybe you can combine something there. I don't know, but I just it's tough.
Yeah, it's a weird
decision. The little I've heard is that the Complexity guys are sort of safe in a way.
I think so too. I'm just thinking hypothetically, it's such a weird problem to have as an org owner, right? Is like all of a sudden you've been given this like team that's doing really, really well that just won $600,000 in what, less than like a month. and has some of the biggest brands in Counter-Strike and the biggest names and players in Counter-Strike. Like there's some positives there as well.
Yeah, but also what you could do kinda is, I mean, imagine if you sell off that team in its, pieces, or in, if Rop was like available to buy, I mean, that would be probably the biggest fucking transfer. Like you could make bank on that too. Another thing is who fucking can afford them, right? So I don't know. It's a really tricky situation for them to figure out. Maybe someone's like looking to get into CS, and that would be a way for them. It's like seeing as how there's no partner teams from 2025, and then you use 2024 sort of to get that team to become good. So then in 2025 you can take it by storm. Really, in some sense, but that would be a big investment. I'm not really.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure. One thing I do fucking agree with is Twist's and his statement about Rops. He's like the best CS2 player at the moment.
Sure.
He has a fucking robot, isn't he?
Yeah, and like, dude, man, some of the games, some of the maps he played, and like just like the way like he turned it on. What was it in the semifinal that they had? Like watching, he's the reason they made it to the finals. Like they wouldn't have done it without him.
Yeah.
Like he carried them through like stretches of maps in those semifinals, which was crazy to watch. That was against Ents. Yeah, that's who it was. Jesus, my brain just froze for a second. Yeah, against like Ents on Ancient, like towards the end, I think he won like single-handedly, like won them like 4 rounds from like the last 3 rounds of regulation and overtime as well, to even get them to Anubis and just have that victory is mental. So yeah, that was a really cool run from FaZe. Other than that, though, like the event was also, I mean, it was cool. It was kind of weird because it was another one of those events where it was just like stand-in city, like everywhere, and like roster upheaval everywhere. Like if you go down the team list, like FaZe, Twist is leaving. Obviously, that upheaval didn't bother him too much. Maus is probably the only stable team there. Ents had Vladin standing in, and the rumors of Snappy departing. Astralis, the rumors of Stoun and Yabby coming into the team, and who knows what the fuck's happening with guys like Buzz and Stare and Borup. NIP have S-Tag as a stand-in. Alex is waiting in the win, or a stand-in in-game leader, and then Maxter as the stand-in, and then Alex is coming in, and then the 3 Chinese teams, one of which is Wings Up, which had 2 stand-ins compared to the core that actually qualified for the event. So like it was one of those events where you're just like, yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. Like we have no fucking idea what is actually going on.
Why do you hate FaZe so much, Jason? Like first you discredit like the online tournament. Now you're saying this tournament was shit because everyone's playing with a stand-in. Sydney was shit because it was the first LAN on CS2 and no one knew what they were doing. People had no time to practice. So they were just frauds this whole time.
Yeah, exactly. That's the tweet I should have made right there. Maybe I'll put that one out today. I was accused of engagement farming, which was funny to me.
I always, what happened to you happens to me, but way more often, right? Like I'm just having like a shitty day or something. Like I'm nervous and I'm just triggered about like everything, and then I see something scrolling Twitter, and I'm like, this fucker, I'm gonna let him have it. And then I start getting, replies from everyone or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it makes you think it's not worth it. Like, obviously you can phrase like a tweet differently and be more politically correct, but I'm always politically correct. It fucking gets boring right after a while. I want to be edgy. Yeah. Just once every now and again,
Yeah, I'm not engagement farming. I'm just in a really fucking bad mood, and I kind of want to be an asshole. Really
like
quick.
The Jake Lucky tweet, like that was me, like doing that. It was like
venting.
Yeah, like kind of, calling him an idiot and venting, just like the EG thing, the last episode with the fucking CEO. Now, of course, rumors of EG shutting down their Counter-Strike division completely. From 4 teams 6 months ago. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but she grew that org from what, 8 team members?
Bro, I was thinking about like, if you would go and just say, hey, but everything shut down. She said, yeah, because I left. They couldn't hang on for 2 months without her.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's just fucking sad. we talked about it like last time, but it's just sad, really. That is what it is.
Yo, Your boy Vladen, who stood in France, looked pretty solid. Do you know anything about him?
Yeah, like he in that Thai Nation team, he was the sort of the bright star. And he was their best player. I think just as a team, they weren't just that great. And some of those players like landed in some of the different other teams, in like whatever tier 3 European team. I think Choi visit with a team called 7 a.m. Dragon is in a team too. Vladen obviously just stood in for Rand. So I think he's a free agent, dude. I think someone could definitely pick him up and sort of he can just keep developing. Like he didn't just work out for them as a 5-man group in that team, but some of those guys are talented and in a different environment. They could still make it. I was super happy with how he performed and sort of what he showed, in terms of what he's capable of.
It was night and day from like day one of group stages where he looked really shaky and not super impressive, and then into the playoffs. And I don't know if it was like adjusting to the jet lag and being in China and everything, or if it was a little bit of time able to have a conversation with the team and the players about how they want to play. But it was like a different player coming into the playoffs where he was making really smart decisions, really sharp aim, had a couple really good clutches for the team at big moments. So, I was super impressive. He seems like a player who'd be like a really good piece to a team. He may not be like the player that like turns the team around entirely, but is a very solid piece to the unit that can have good impact. So that was cool. I was really surprised.
Yeah, we'll see I don't know also when's the timing for all these changes gonna happen. Like, what is it like?
I think a lot of them are slated for
pre-blast, post-blast?
After fall finals, because that's like the Cadian one because he's standing in for Heroic.
That's true.
So I imagine most of that stuff is just going to pop off and like actually come to be permanent. I mean, maybe some of it'll like kind of leak out over the days. Is FaZe doing blast fall finals?
I think so. I think they qualify. Yeah, FaZe.
Yeah, they will be.
Cloud9's going to be there. Fucking I forgot about that. Cloud9 exists.
Good old Boomage, baby.
Fucking hell. Jason, wait, have you seen breaking news? Have you seen it?
Where? No.
OG benches Fasher.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, I didn't know that was the breaking news. Yeah.
Just happened 10 minutes ago. Wow. I am shocked that this OG lineup did not work out with Keto, Fiku, and Fasher. Who could have seen this coming, Jason?
Yeah,
anyone with eyesight. That's the answer.
OG seems like an org that needs to just like find it. Like it seems like I feel like most of their emphasis should be like put on like I'm gonna have a Kassad moment should be thrown towards like getting like a coach and a staff that could actually do some research and like try and get some really like some young talent, because they keep like recycling sort of the leftovers of other teams, which seems like kind of weird, and it's not taking them anywhere. And I feel like they've been in this cycle for a couple of years now.
And the problem is also, like, someone will say, yeah, but I mean, they don't have the money to get, I don't know who. Okay, so your scouting department is shit. I mean, look at the Mouse team. It's all the academy players, right? So you're telling me that in what, 2 years, 3 years, however long of a time, you couldn't really scout anyone? Like, or actually, you were terrible at scouting players. Like Fiku, I don't think he's like anything special, really. I don't think he's shown much in this whole time. They had Neofrag there for a while. He turned out to be a bust too, sort of. Had multiple players coming through. I think Regali can actually be good. I just think this team was so bad that you can't really showcase much when that's what you're surrounded with.
Yeah, the problem is the team is always put together of all these like different parts that don't make a whole lot of sense and don't seem to work well together, that I feel like individually all the players that we talk about as having potential and having some skills don't get to realize it, because the team is so dysfunctional that an individual can't really thrive or show off what he's capable of in any meaningful way. Like it just seems like you go there and you kind of get buried in this quagmire of a team that isn't. That's the non-politically correct.
And then also, bro, now we get to the meat and potatoes, right? Because obviously, from the last time we did the show. We were talking so much about the Falcons and the potential additions that then 2 days after we were done is like, oh, Nico confirmed staying in G2, right? Oh, all of a sudden the done deal turns out it wasn't a done deal after all, right? Like that's why I also, it's like you can't, a done deal means ink on the contract, right? That's a done deal when it's signed, sealed, delivered, you know? Even if, let's say, a player's made a agreement and, you know, he said he's willing to go and the org is willing to sell him, if they can't agree on all the details or if something changes, then the deal is not done. And that's why I hate when, like, Nell is making excuses for himself. Dude, that's not a done deal. It's like, oh, yeah, things change. Yeah, they change if they're not done. If they're done, then it's done. You can't, you know, if it's signed, you can't, like, unsign it, you know, unless you go to court or some bullshit to, like, void the contract. I don't know. Regardless.
Find some kind of a loophole.
Nico stays with G2. And
oh yeah, he's got to build that Balkan stack.
Yeah, I'll get to that as well. Nico stays in G2, but then JKS is getting benched, and now they want to bring back Nexa. Where I'm like, why? What has Nexa done to deserve this, bro? Like, obviously, I'm rooting for the guy. He's Serbian, right? Like, but I mean, you know, first he took some time. First, he sort of didn't want to stay on that G2 roster. It's not like they wanted to sort of replace him. It's kind of he didn't want to in-game lead or he didn't like really enjoy playing. You remember that after he went to OG, he had these fucking weird interviews that he was giving out, which were like, what the fuck is he really talking about in a way? You know, and it's like, oh, it's more chill, you know, it's like the pressure of like having to, I don't know. It was just fucking strange. And for me personally, I would never have him back on a team. Or would have like brought him on a team for, you know, you want to have fun, bro, go to OG and lose. That's fun. You know, keep losing. So then you take time off for whatever. I don't know. He was linked with someone. He was supposed to move. I think there were some rumors about something the start of this year or whatever. So he sort of bails on OG. They get Nico, the Danish Nico, to fill in as the in-game leader, right? And then he's back.
Yeah, I don't think that time off was ever explained. Yeah. Not that it has to be, but I don't recall ever seeing a reason why Nexa was on like a 6-month hiatus.
And then he comes back. OG did nothing since he came back. It's not like he was playing amazing individually, so you're like, oh, this guy's playing really well, just his team is bad. It's nothing. The only angle I see is he's a sort of a passive anchor player, which is, you know, also what JKS is. But I don't think he's better than JKS right now as a player. Say, like, I don't think there's some familiarity there with some of the, like with Hunter and Nico, obviously, but not with Hooksy, not with Monesi. With the coach, yeah, I guess he was the analyst while he was there, but it's just for me as like, I have no idea why that is the call. Especially when you're thinking about like, we need a fucking rifler. Bro, there's a million riflers out there. I feel like sure, some of them are less experienced, more experienced, but not the skill, blah, blah, this and that, so and so. But I'm sure you could have whipped something up right now that's better than Nexa.
Well,
and this is also, sorry, just one more thing. This is also like, so what's Hooksy supposed to think now? Is this just like sort of them securing an in-game leader if they want to get rid of Hooksy down the line and then bring someone else and let them, you know, like it's just this weird, like, well, what is he supposed to think now? Like, what's the goal here with this addition?
Yeah. Like how are they bringing in a safety net for when they want to get rid of me? That'd be, that's kind of a strange one. I mean, you framed it as like, what the fuck has Nexa done to deserve this coming back into G2? And my mind is kind of like, what the fuck did JKS do to deserve this? You know, like why did JKS, why is he, you know, but I guess, I mean, when you look at that roster, I guess, I mean, Nico, Hunter, Mondesi all feel pretty untouchable. So, and then Hooksy as the IGL is a difficult one to replace. So, I guess in that sense, it makes sense. But in regards to like the inside the server, JKS is, I think, delivered for them on pretty much every front, considering, you know, the roles he plays and considering, you know, the responsibilities he's been given inside the server. He's always seemed pretty solid for this
I
team.
think it's been a little bit inconsistent, but sure, like in some of the, you know, you go to Katowice and he had a fucking incredible tournament there. I feel like in Cologne, he was okay too, although it was mostly more Mondesi and Eco sort of leading the way. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where it must be something in the team that's going on, right? Like that you can't really tell from the outside, whether it's, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to like speculate because people think I know everything that goes on in that team, but that's not really the case. So who knows? Yeah, I was really surprised as well when I saw it. But I can tell you one thing, that it isn't fucking Nico and Hunter wanting to, or just Nico, whatever, wanting to like bring their Serbian friend back and like make a Serbian team or anything like that. First of all, they don't have that sort of a power. Like people think that Nico decides what happens in that team. Bro, he just gets told what's happening. You know, like he maybe gets, obviously as a star player, like you get asked for your input on players or
They check
you know,
in with
the
him,
org does 1v1s with each player, right? Like when they air their, you know, what they think is the problem in the team and so on. They do team talks as well, right? Like, so that's just what people higher up in the organization have decided that the team needs, you know, just to be better, to improve down the line, right? It's just, it is really strange because, you know, Hooksy was close a couple of times and they sort of shown faith in him and they stuck with the roster and it did kind of pay off, like, right? Like they won Cologne. They had a good, you know, Gamers 8 really, where it's sort of like they lost a really close game to Vitality where they could have, you know, maybe won another tournament there. But I think it's I think it's a little bit similar to FaZe. I think also Sydney was a big one, just losing to Complexity, you know, after you beat them in groups and like on the stage. And sure, Complexity played really well, but G2 played really shitty. Like in those, like there, you know, it was so slow, weak, blah, 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 blah. And I don't know how that has much to do with JKS, right? But maybe it does.
I mean, yeah, you never know. Like, there's always those backbreaking losses that just kind of like ignite things, and that seems to have been one. They had like, and I mean, I guess if you're G2 as well, it's like, yeah, Katowice and Cologne are nice, but we can't just like have this for 2 events a year. You know, we can't just have it at the beginning of the year. Like, we need to be able to actually, you know, 5th to 8th at Pro League, went out in the showdown to you know, struggling.
I think you give a fuck about the showdown, to be honest.
Yeah, but it all counts, right? Like they don't necessarily give a fuck, but you know, they would have if they had won it, you know? Like they would have been like, yeah, great, we're going to the final.
I know, but it's like you have to play CS:GO, CS2 is out, all that sort of bullshit.
True.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a really weird one. I don't know what to say. I don't like it. If in case you guys haven't figured that out, but I don't like it. I'm confused,
you know, I'm not,
and that's not just because I'm a little bit hungover. Like I'm trying to wrap my head around this one. So
yeah, I even like Nexa as a player. I think he's a really cool player, and I don't like this move.
I mean, you're showing him you're putting a lot of faith in him. Why? Not even why in terms of like what's he done to deserve this. Like there's really a lot of options. Not going to sound like an asshole because I'm not giving any specific names, but I don't know. you know, surely, like you go down, like fucking, I have to now open this fucking thing with the teams.
Now you have to do it.
Now you have to give one.
At least give 2.
Yeah, at least give 2 names. You can keep talking, Jason. It's all right.
Yeah, no, I was just reading a tweet from Launders. Pokimane came out with that new mini cookie product. All right. And Launders just tweeted that he would pay 5x just to smell the bag, which is funny.
Yeah, like someone, who did you talk? Like someone like Isaac maybe. You know, I don't know if he's like exactly like that sort of a player. Like if he can play those roles, like, but someone like that, dude. I don't know. There's players. Get Rainmaker.
Also,
he was
like,
such a success for Liquid.
well, also, it does seem like, you know, I don't. This is where it's kind of interesting because it's like, man, like how bad was how bad was the problem? Was it, did it really feel like it needed to happen like right at that moment? Like, you know, we're just going into CS2. Don't you want to hold on a little bit longer and see if there's like some other way to find someone like a new, younger talent?
I have a lot of I have a lot of issues with seeing how this is going to change the situation for G2. Right? Like, yeah. Are they what? Now that was like the JKS was that big of a problem that just
is it going to be a significant upgrade?
Because, you know, I can't see how JKS is responsible for them having like a shit T side in the complexity game for being too slow and too timid. It's like, okay, is it expected from JKS as the guy playing the side to take more initiative in some situations? Like, I mean, it didn't really seem like it. Like that was the thing that was lacking a lot, and then that was the problem. And also, you know, Nexa is a similar player in terms of being passive. It's just such a weird change. It doesn't feel like, you know, unless fucking JKS fucked someone's girlfriend, you know, or some bullshit like that. And there's like a personal, something happened like on a personal level in the team, that there was some beef or some fight where, you know, like he was out of line and that now he needs to be replaced, which I can't imagine a universe in which fucking Justin Savage steps out of line, right? Like,
I can't either. It's weird. You know, this whole time period around like CS2 coming out and all the roster changes and upheaval that we've seen like coming about, it reminds me a lot of like right when like COVID really hit and we started going into the online era, and we started seeing a bunch of players like step down, retire, change teams. It's like that switch to online during COVID made like a lot of the veteran players like just like reconsider their entire existence and what the fuck they were doing. So it caused some like changes, and it feels like CS2 is doing that exact same things, where it's a brand new game, and it feels like a lot of people are just like reconsidering what lineup they're in and who they're playing with and who they're playing for and who they want to play with in the future, and it's causing like so much upheaval at the top.
I'll do two more things. I'll say you first that you're right, and it feels like I'm going to start rewatching X-Files because of how weird and spooky this whole transfer season has been. Second thing, I have another name for you that could be interesting, and that's Demka.
Oh,
he plays anchor, big side anchor for Monty.
That's an intriguing one,
and he's been playing pretty well.
Yeah, I like him.
Bit of a temper on him, it feels like, but you know, they've had players like that before. That have matured now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I think Demka's got some game as well. That's actually a really intriguing one.
So yeah, I guess the jury is still out. What does even G2 have until the end of the year? They don't have fall finals. They have global finals, and I think that's it. They're not playing anything else unless they, you know, get an invite for something and then they decide to go just so they have one more tournament. But there's nothing there really, you know, this Bet Boom Dacha thing. There's qualifiers for that. Other teams have been invited. I don't know if they would even like play stuff like that.
No, why would you?
For the money,
I guess. Yeah. True.
And which is also an interesting thing, man. Like with how it is for the seeds, for the RMR and all of that stuff, like there's no distinction there between LAN and online. Only prize money. And now all these tournaments that are popping up, I think you can see a lot of these teams are now, you're seeing more tier 1 teams than you used to play these online tournaments, because some of the ones that have realized it that are, you know, smarty pantses.
I hope that gets changed though, or like there's some kind of like online prize money counts for only like 25, like, you know, 50% of the points that a LAN event does, or you know, like
yes, I agree.
Like but also, Kassad raised this point, and because I hadn't even looked at it at that point, but like, where's, you know, that is such like a weird way. it gets dangerous when we have all these like kind of betting companies. Well, I mean, just take this Bet Boom, for example, this tournament in Dubai. They gave a direct invite to the Bet Boom team. And it's all of a sudden, it's like if you are going to sponsor an event and you have a team and you invite them directly to a huge prize pool tournament, you're almost giving them a leg up on qualifying for the or like seeds in the major. You know, you're giving them a better shot, you know, in that tournament just by throwing an event. So it's like a little bit weird and sketchy how all this is going to start playing out.
Yeah, I see that. Luckily, at this point in time, they're ranked 13th, so it's not that they're like some super shit team. But I absolutely you have a point, and there's a lot of them. I mean, it was just announced today, made public. This Parry announces another event in Belgrade. They had that,
and there's a Parry team.
They had that Dunav party one. Yeah, that's actually the one with Jerry, right? Jerry's on that team now, and XC Power.
Yeah, Jerry. Yep. So there's a Paravision team that's been invited to the Parry.
Yeah.
Parry
and they're 90th
events,
in the world, right? And that event has 100K prize pool, right? So it's and also you get an opportunity to, you know, play teams who, let's say, would be higher in the ranking because they're better. And sure, you know, if you beat them, I mean, that's all fair and square. But, you know, you wouldn't even have that opportunity if you weren't a team owned by the organization that's organizing the tournament as well. So you're getting like opportunities based off of that maybe would be the other teams would be more deserving of them.
Yeah, it's curious, and that's one of the things that whenever we've mentioned this kind of Valve ranking system that they've busted out with CS2, is that's always been like my biggest sticking point. Is I hope they're staying on top of this, and I hope they're paying attention to some of this stuff because I think their attention is obviously more geared towards updating the game and getting the game in its proper place for the first major and making sure all the bugs are taken out. That this could really easily fall under the rug, but this is the kind of stuff that makes me a little bit weirded out by that kind of a ranking system that values prize money.
Yeah, I'm also thinking, you know, Chad isn't here, but you'll have to do, Jason, about some good old format talk. No, I'm kidding. I don't want to go down there, but let's just, because we always talk about this, but let's just like theory craft a little bit. What could be the parameters for a ranking? You know, what goes into the points that you get, if not prize money?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I guess you'd have to,
right? You'd say like you beat a higher ranked team, you know, whatever, but how they ranked in the first place, right? So what a tournament would have to be on LAN, it will have to have whatever, maybe a minimum of 8 teams. And then, right? Like, so prize money kind of has to be a part of it because prize money insinuates that the higher it is, the more, you know, you would like to attend that event because of the reward that you get for winning it. But it shouldn't be the main determination of how.
I've never thought about actually creating parameters for that, to be honest with you. That's a really good question.
Right. So how would you, I mean, what would we need to add or change or adjust really to go?
I feel like you could create like brackets of what the prize money is in terms of how the importance of it. I think also like you could probably go around and this is probably something, I mean, this has its own kind of sticky issues just because of maybe showing some favoritism, but wouldn't you say like out of the gate, you know, there are certain operators in the space that have run really good LAN events that you could trust where you say ESL, Blast, PGL, Star Ladder, like if you go down that kind of list of like, you know, I mean, they're not running events right now, but they've had big ones in the past, and I mean, we've heard plenty of rumors over the past 2 years that they're still trying to make a comeback into the game, and they're waiting for some more space in the calendar. But couldn't you go to that and say these are like trusted tournament operators that we've worked?
Yeah, but isn't that a little bit of like the
events?
DPC thing they have in Dota?
Sure.
You know, and also what happens if there's a new TO that wants to get, you know, that creates a barrier of entry. And they're just, I don't think that works. I think it has to be a thing where, you know, there has to be an opportunity to qualify for it, and then I don't know. This is now getting like super.
Yeah, but like
complicated.
I mean, but
because the problem is, if you just make
be...
it LAN and 60 and all of that stuff, well, then it has to be qualifier so that anyone can make that tournament, and you just don't get invited based off of rankings or the partnership, which we know, okay, isn't going to be a thing starting 2025. So there has to be value for teams that are playing online.
Yeah, it's a complicated.
But I agree, it would have to count half towards the LAN, right?
I just wonder if it could be like really fucking abused, you know, like this example of like BetBoom isn't too bad because BetBoom is ranked higher.
Fucking hell, man! My girlfriend just came into the room. I have the headset on, and she just popped in out of nowhere. I got fucking scared. I told her not to do this. Jesus fucking Christ, man!
Y'all stressed out now.
Yeah,
You're
man.
sweating.
I'm like fucking.
The fight or flight response is kicking in.
She just brought me some fruit, you know. I love her. All right, let's see. Back to the...
But like, you know, what if there's like an egregious example where like, again, I'll just use BetBoom, and this is nothing against them at all, but like, let's just say they run an event for like $300,000 again, and they invite BetBoom, and then like teams that are like, you know, 30th or below.
Yeah,
I guess if you want to go back to your question of like some parameters for what events are going to be weighted higher in terms of rankings, you could put some safety nets in there to where it's like X amount of slots have to be qualification, right? Like X amount of slots, half your slots have to be garnered through a qualification process.
I mean, what I'm looking at right now, it's fine. Like, sure, you can argue about different shit. Like, you know, Mouse is 1, G2 is 2, FaZe, Vitality, Ants, Navi, VP, Monty, Heroic, yeah. Cloud9, Spirit, Astralis. Like, sure, you could argue maybe one team is 3 spots too high, one team is 5 spots too low, but it's not egregious. I remember that people were saying it was fucked up for like the smaller regions, but I guess that's because of less tournaments and, you know, less opportunities, meaning less prize money and whatnot. But in Asia, for example, it's Lin Vision, then Tyloo, then the Mongols, then Grayhound. I don't know. That's all right. Yeah, you'd probably put Mongols above others, but they haven't played that much shit recently, right? And they've
Mongols?
changed, like, yeah, there's like Senzu is there. And what was their last? What are they playing? They played Mesa Pro Series Fall, ESL Challenger Close Qualifier. And they haven't played that much stuff. Like, I mean, in October they had 4 games. It was this qualifier for Jean Coping the Challenger. This Mesa Pro Fall, there was just 1 game. They played the grand final, best of 5. They beat some team. So yeah, it's not like. It seems like it's fine so far the way it is, but that might change.
I don't know. We haven't seen it abused yet. I just get the feeling.
But with what you said, yeah, you're right. I mean, it can be a problem if all of a sudden we have 500K tournaments popping up. I mean, and if the thing you care about the most is the Valve ranking, I mean, you might see a team fucking skip a Sydney or a Dallas or I don't know.
To play an online.
Yeah, to play an online event that has a shit ton of prize money, not just because of the money, but also because, well, that's what matters for the ranking, you know? I feel like, yeah, and then it's like, I guess the way you look at it, the easiest way to look at the ranking is just money earned, right? And then, because I was going to say, well, it would be cool if you were getting more points if you beat teams that are higher up, but that is counted in because what's looked at is like how much prize money has your opponent earned, which again, going to be higher ranked if they earn more. So it comes down to, you know, it's going to be a good team that.
Yeah, and I guess in that sense, it's almost like a great. I don't even know. I guess maybe this is almost like a reversal of my position. But if you have a team that's just like boosted by like a previous, I know. If you have a team that's like just boosted by like winning some like, you know, skeezy online event for a bunch of money, and you beat them as like an underdog, like you get to like leapfrog quite a bit. I don't know. I guess we'll see how it plays out. We'll see how the rankings look heading into this next major, and then obviously it's just going to have to be like eyes peeled for any shenanigans moving forward.
Yeah. Well, talking about the major, we got the second one announced officially.
Yeah,
China, baby.
Which is Yeah, China, which is, I mean, I think I don't know how many people we were debating this when it was announced at the event. How many of like the average public knew? Because I think most of us have known for a while that it would be the next one. And I know Shanghai was given they were supposed to have a major during COVID that got canceled, correct?
Yeah, I think Rio was supposed to be the first one in 2020, and then PerfectWorld second one in 2020. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this was, it was kind of on the card. So I'm not sure how much the average public, but yeah, super, super cool. China's getting a lot of love throughout the scene for next year. I feel like we're going to be going to China a few times throughout the year.
Yeah. I mean, I think I like it. We've had 10 years in CSGO without a major in Asia. I think obviously we want to make the game global, and there are a lot of fans in China, and a lot of fans all over the world. So I feel like the majors do exist for that reason as well, to bring some of the biggest tournaments to some of these regions too. Shanghai, awesome place. One of the fucking biggest, most amazing cities in the world. So I have no doubt that it's going to be packed, and the players are going to get a lot of love. I heard a lot of stuff about, because the players were actually there. You weren't there in Shanghai, with the fans and how long they waited. I hear this wild, Nico told me this wild story from Sydney, because there was players, there was Chinese fans in Sydney too that flew out for the event, and they were doing the same thing. And then some guy asked Nico, hey, can you record a happy birthday for me, like a message, that so I can show my friend, whatever, and he's like, oh man, it's your birthday. No, my birthday is in 6 months. But I just wanted to sort of have you congratulating me, happy birthday. It's like, well, that's fucking cool, I guess.
That's actually
intense, but yeah.
Well, I loved it too, because it was over the tweets too. Like, everyone was loving the fans, but then they were all the fans were getting them to sign mice at the event, and then putting them up for sale on Chinese eBay. they were taking all the mice they had the pro players sign and just trying to sell them immediately online, which is kind of funny to me.
Well, I mean, if there's a fucking massive market for it, although it's if you're gonna bug players just for that, you're not a real fan. What movie is that, man? There's a movie or a TV show about that shit. I can't remember now, where there's guys who are following a player, they know where the players stay for games and stuff, so they get them to sign shit, and then they keep on selling, right? Yeah. There's people who do that for a living, whatever. But yeah, major in Shanghai. The most important thing actually is the fucking dates for it, because it is going to be the last tournament of the year. Which, yes, I think so. I don't know if that's public or not, but if they announced it themselves, but that was the slots that people were applying for, or the dates really.
Event is scheduled for December 2024.
Yeah, so it has to be the last one. I mean, the player break is from mid-December.
Wait. Our MRs are October 26th to November 13th, and the major itself set to follow just over 2 weeks later from December 1st to 15th.
There you go. There's not going to be anything after that, I don't think.
Blast Abu Dhabi.
I don't think they've announced. I wouldn't do it then. I mean,
yeah, it would have to be right after the major.
It would be,
because I think last year it ended. I got home on December 20th from Abu Dhabi last year.
Yeah. So,
but I don't know if you could pull that off, and I don't even know if you'd want to. You'd have to start an event literally 2 days after the major, traveling from China to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, but let's just assume that the major will be the last one, and I love it, because it makes, we talked about this numerous times. It makes sense. You ramp up towards the major, right? And then after that, it's the player breaks. You can make all the changes you want. You can reevaluate things.
And those player changes happen whether it's a player break or not. As we've seen in Dallas for the past 2 years, so the 2 times it's been there, it's Dallas is always just
exactly. Look at all these. Okay, now it's a unique situation because of CS2, but it happens every year, man. Every year after the major, you're yeah, well, we know this team is going to make changes, right? But they're riding it out, the last dance for the 700th time, right? So I think it's going to make everything a lot smoother in terms of roster changes, transitions, and we're going to have a lot less asterisks in tournaments, which I think is a fucking great thing for everyone, especially the viewer ultimately, because you're going to get teams at their best. You're going to get the proper teams, alive teams, not dead teams playing tournaments.
And just the feel of like the structure of your year building up to the World Championship is so much nicer instead of just having it like dumped in like the middle of a stretch. Because previously, I mean, ESL's is set up to like build up towards Cologne and Katowice, which is still a little bit janky considering Katowice takes place in like the next year.
I think for them actually, I think they're in a different position now. It turned out where Katowice and Cologne are like the two big ones that are like at the start of the season. Now both of them, right? Katowice is like there's Blast, then Kato, and then you'll have Blast and then Cologne in the summer because the player break was moved back, kind of. So I think it's cool in a
but all the qualifications for Cologne come from the events after Katowice, right? Like that's where like the
points occur. for a direct slot, but that's only a couple of spots, and it's a 24-team tournament, so it's more so about the points you accrue and whatnot. But I think that's cool. If anything, you'd probably want to look and just make them like a month later or something. Like you feel like that would be better. Like have Pro League first and then have Cologne, right? Because it feels like it might even be a little bit too early in the season, because for teams that do make changes, is there like fucking second tournament that they play of the year, and it's such a massive one. So
sure,
I don't know. But in any case, I feel like with the majors moving in, I think from 2025, even the first one will be also at the end of the season, like whatever, first 2 weeks of June. And then that will also, that's how it's supposed to be. Finally, after years and years, we might get there in terms of scheduling.
Well, 2025 is going to be like, if we're looking really far ahead, 2025 in general is just going to be, it feels like a crazy year, because that's when it feels like all this like the partnership stuff really goes away in terms of partner teams. It's when I feel like we're going to get more operators trying to find some space to come in and run events. So I feel like 2025 is going to be a year where the scene overall feels structured vastly different. With more tournament organizers, with teams, hopefully more teams being involved in the action, and just I think it's going to be a real kind of, there's going to be a different structure to the circuit that we're used to seeing over the past 4 years.
Yeah, we'll see if some orgs want to get into it.
Hey, did you see? This was funny. Xtaz got nominated for Coach of the Year.
I mean, props to him. Like, he was known to be a guy that didn't even like coach for 2 months this year. Get me off this list. Like, it just tells you more so about the people running those awards, right? Like that tells you how much they know about the esports scene or just anything really. It's
all those esports award shows are so bogus.
Yes, until we win one of them, Jason, then they're the most important reference of success.
I've been nominated for some of those in the past, and like they feel so weird, because it's always like they're just like the whole time like you're just getting email updates like every week of them like trying to like peddle at you to like be involved in like advertising it on social media
and to like pay for your fucking flight and hotel and this whole experience that you're getting to mingle with other people, and it's like for thousands of dollars. I'm like,
Yeah, you have to pay for your flight to the award show. You have to pay for your hotel room at the award show.
In Vegas.
And even if you're nominated, you have to pay for your table at the award show.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
You don't even get a spot at the table. So like, I think also there's like a factor to most of those too that I've never confirmed, but I've always felt, where it's like, if you are one of those people who decides to fork out the cash to actually attend the event, you have such a leg up in terms of winning the prize, because they want the attendee to be there,
Yeah, but I'm not fucking flying out there and spending all that money if I don't know that I won. And even if I know that I won, man, I have to like think twice about it. I won't just go for that. I have to make it more than that. And also I think there's still tournaments going on then, so you might just not be able to attend.
I mean, the only real award show that I would be interested in attending is the HLTV.
I was going to ask you now. That was going to be my next question, because it's in Belgrade, bro.
Am I coming? Yeah, I know. I would love to make it. I have a
child.
I have. Well, I do have that, but I would bring them. I've been to Jane's wanted to come to Belgrade ever since I went and visited you years back, just because I had such a good time. So I'd more than happily bring her and the baby out there. I just have something scheduled that weekend that may get canceled and may not, and yeah, it's just one of those things.
That's all right.
Wait and find out.
I'm excited for it though, being
in your hometown. You're gonna have a lot of responsibility organizing the social events.
I don't give a fuck, dude. To be honest, like in terms of, I mean, for people who reach out to me and want recommendations, and like obviously the people that I know, you know, our boys who come, I'll make sure to show them around and all of that stuff. But I won't lie, I'm a little bit disappointed. Fucking HLTV didn't want me to do anything at the event, really. I mean, you know, it's kind of feel like it's in my hometown. You could have, you know.
Yeah, hook it up, baby.
But you know what's gonna happen. They're gonna come like for me to, hey, can you want to do and come and like present this like one award or something?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, which like 100 other people will do, but
yeah,
that's all right. But yeah, I'm excited for people coming to Belgrade, right, and sort of just seeing what it's like. It's gonna be cold, but just for people to taste the food. You know, I've had recently some of the people that come to the boot camp, you know, and we make sure always to take them out at least for a dinner or something. There's actually
nice
close to the boot
meal.
camp is actually one of the best sort of traditional Serbian restaurants just in Belgrade in general, right? Really nice environment, incredible food. So people always are like, this shit's like really good. I'm like, I told you, man. But you just have to go to the proper place. I talked to some of the teams, you know, or players that when we're there, we're like, oh man, we just had like really problems with like food. I'm like, what? You had what?
Yeah.
This guy had food poisoning. I'm like, where did you go and eat? Like that's like crazy. But yeah, it's gonna be fun also because it's off season kind of. So you know, people will be able to let loose a little bit, enjoy the city. And also I think I saw it's at the Hyatt. It's like a nice hotel, one of the nicest in Belgrade. It's 5 minutes walk from my house as well. It's super close for me, so I'm digging it.
Perfect.
Maybe Jason, maybe I need to organize, you know, like a party of my own, you know, like, you know how you have like after parties for the event, and then but you know, like you know that this one is always the good one that when these guys make it. So
the YNK Invitational.
Yeah, man. Hey, I know you'd want to be on that one. You know that shit would be fire.
That might actually sell me on the trip. I might actually just show up just for the party.
Yeah, and then tell Jane you're going to a business meeting. It might take a while, you know. That's how these fucking Serbians do business. It's, you have to keep up. You have to keep up with them. You know, there's a lot of drinking. It's a test. It's a test.
Yeah, you can't get their business if you can't handle your rakia. So it's going to be wild.
Exactly, but that should be fun. What else did we have?
What else is going on the scene? Oh, have you now that you're home from vacation, have you gotten to play CS2? Have you been grinding a little bit, getting some
actually
games
not
under your belt?
CS2 really yet. I didn't get back into the stacks. You know, I didn't join TeamSpeak that much. You know, I was playing a little bit of some other games, and I just had shit to take care of. Because I basically wasn't home. Like I was home, I don't know, a week or 10 days in 2.5 months, because there was Pro League, and then, you know, it was like Cologne, then a week, then Riyadh, then a week, then Pro League, then a week, then the wedding in Sydney and the vacation, right? So some things have added up, but I'm looking forward to just going in. I talked to Harry a little bit when I was somewhere, and he was like, hey man, like let's play when you get back. You can carry me a little bit. I was like, let's do that, Harry. I'd like that. So I'll get into it. I saw the changes, you know, and people saying that there is improvement with all the animations and whatnot, and the registry and the spray trace, all of that stuff. So no, I didn't get to play it yet, but by the time we record the next one, I will definitely have
I'm gonna grind it.
Have hours. And yeah, I had to, you know, the new Call of Duty was out, so I had to play the campaign, right? You know, I love those.
Sure.
This one was fucking dog shit.
I love those too.
Bro, it was I mean, even for me, it was like very, very I finished it in one day. It took me like, I don't know, 6 hours, 7 hours.
Sure.
Like, and they tried to add some like Warzone elements to it, like where you're based, you know, like you're sort of going through a mode that they have. in the multiplayer. Like that's how you're doing the mission. You have like different ways you can do it. And it wasn't as broad. I feel like the storytelling and everything that makes a good Call of Duty campaign felt lacking. It felt like they were just they rushed it, you know? So
yeah, that's a bummer because you and I both have that same tendency where, like, outside of Counter-Strike, we really like single player campaigns, and like most single player campaigns these days almost feel like you're playing a movie to a certain extent, and that's what that's the sense I always get from when I've played Call of Duty campaigns because I love them as well. So yeah, that's a fucking bummer. That's a huge bummer.
Yeah, it's not. I would say it's not worth it to buy it really, but you know who really cares about $50, I guess, in a way, for a game. I'm waiting for Frostpunk too. I'm looking forward to that next year, and a lot of some other games, but let's not get into it. No one wants to hear about that.
I got my I'm gonna be grinding Counter-Strike this week. I got my new PC gets in today. I'm waiting for
you got the one that you asked me about?
No,
okay.
I didn't get that one. I did want to. It's obviously a sick PC, but like with the all the water cooling, like it just like jacked up the prices. I think like the one I built is similar.
Which GPU
like
did you get?
Less. I got the Ryzen 7 70.
All right, that's CPU. Which graphics card did you get?
3D. 4090.
Nice. That's attaboy. Shell out.
Yeah, I went for it.
You know, this is probably something you're gonna have to edit out in the post, but you really fucking got an AMD over an Intel.
Oh, hey Trace. We're recording a podcast right now.
Yeah, man.
This is good. Can you give us like, I don't know, 20 minutes? See you later, Trace.
Like how he just got it.
I didn't hear a word he said.
He just got it. I was like, hi, podcast roll, bye, podcast roll, where it doesn't really, you know, we're not recording on TeamSpeak, bro. Fucking loud Trace.
Yeah, well, the reason I did it is it's apparently the best CPU for CS2. Now, I mean, take from that what you will, from like the benchmarks that I looked into and was shown, and I talked to a bunch of people when I was making my decision who know things about PCs because I don't know anything about computer hardware. The benchmarks were all like, they'd be like, this one's so much better than all the others for CS2, and I'd look at it and it was like 20 extra FPS, and I'm like, I don't know, does that really make that much of a difference? Like, is that really that big of a deal? You know, 380 versus 360, does that matter? So I don't know, but yeah, I went for it. I'd spent a while since I had an AMD. I think the last time I had an AMD processor was 2000. This is a throwback. 2004.
Holy
they
fuck!
Had just released like the AMD Athlon 64 processor.
I don't think I've ever had it.
Which was like, that was like the first time a processor had found like an architecture that could beat Intel's as well. But then Intel's just been dominant. So yeah, I went for it.
Good for you.
We don't have to.
Good for you, man.
I'm not sponsored by.
Also, no, it's also good. Grayhound finally got a fucking coach, and they're all made aircast. So we'll see how it goes. I always said,
I'm glad you went on with that. I was like, what?
So no, it's like, because I always said like it was crazy that they didn't have a coach, like especially with how they were losing games and stuff. And
yeah,
we were talking about getting someone European, right, or with European experience. Like this isn't really that, but. Let's see. I'm not saying necessarily they need to have one, just someone who can like update them a little bit and help them just be more productive in practice, I guess, and that sort of a thing. So we'll see if this means any changes in performance, right, in the future. We'll have to wait and see. But that was cool. Energy, rumored to be coming back. I guess they'll just pick up something from the EG teams.
With OC.
Yeah. I guess they'll just pick up like a couple of guys from EG.
I mean, bro, you could go out and get OC, Automatic, and right like I feel like that's like a really good place. Fang is out there as well. I don't know if Hex could be a shout. Fang was from old Complexity is still teamless. If you want to take him and see if you can continue
Stewie's coming
to build
back,
upon
bro.
what he did in Complexity.
You just feel like they might
so.
They might go out and get like Stewie and Breezy and Automatic and OC. And then who do you need? An in-game leader. Daps. Daps is back playing.
Don't do that.
Or Stanislav, one of the two. Or Steel. Steel's going to be unbanned.
Yeah, actually, that's not a bad shout. I would love to. Actually, that is a really cool
Steal,
idea.
OC,
I love that.
automatic, breezy, Stewie. Run it back, Jason. Let's fucking go, baby.
Man, there's too many. There's too many ifs. There's too many ifs in that.
I know.
You know,
But it would
You know what I
fucking
mean?
get people hyped, I'll tell you that. For the
It would-
first
it
3
would
or
get the
4 months,
entire-
you would have like the whole
Yeah.
NA. Imagine if they had any success early on, like they just fucking did something, got hyped up. It would get fucking.
You would just
It
capitalize.
would get
the
the
North
faith
American
back.
fan base.
Like, you know, people would be switching back from Valorant to CS. You would go into the promised land. 2025, there has to be a major in NA. And Stewie lifting another major trophy on home soil. Can you see it, Jason?
Sponsored by Starbucks.
See it. I was trying to sell you on it, but yeah.
I know I'm in. I mean, of all those, I think I would have like the least concerns about Stewie as a player. I think he's still got plenty of game left in the tank. His issues towards the end were more on the mental and focus side of things. So as long as he's coming back in and you're comfortable with that, I think it's cool. Breeze, I need to see something from, you know, like he languished way too long in mediocrity, I feel, compared to where he was previously. So that, I mean, he's a player, considering what his ceiling is. I feel like he is a player that it makes sense that you could take a risk on. Like,
Well,
I'm not
yeah,
down
I
with
mean,
that.
also, it's not like they're brimming with talent over there on in NA, right? Like, it's not like there's a ton of players ready to be picked up that are obvious pickups.
That would be a really cool like starter team with the idea of that you would probably end up making 2 changes over time. You know?
Yeah.
But that would be a fucking sweet, sexy lineup to announce one day. Especially if they could keep it secret and just go for it and just like get the announcement out there before, like if they can like just get these contracts signed, put the lineup together, none of the leakers hear about it, none of the journalists hear about it, get going.
Yeah, I think we'll see what's gonna happen.
Those pesky leakers, Yanko.
Yeah, that's why I'm reading through now, because that's what I wanted to talk about next. Like this whole Overdrive thing and him like tweeting stuff, and there was a lot of shit involved, like where, you know, Twist also steps in and says, you know,
bro, I love that he's throwing hands.
Exactly,
on this.
like that he's out about
great.
that. So you're fully connected to team spirit, and you ever sit in on scrims. I'm not surprised if you have info. If you help manage the roster, it would be good to disclose some of your sources, right? But I guess it comes down to the problem is, and Nico also told them like to shut the fuck up, that he's like, you know, that he's delusional, because
Even
Overdrive's.
on it.
I didn't see Simple replying, but yeah. Because Overdrive tweeted out, interesting rumor on G2 is that Nico wants to get her Balkan friends stack. It was one of the reasons he didn't accept Falcon's offer. Nexa is already in. Madden is going to replace Hooksy. I wonder if it's really true, but looks like it can be for real, right? And then there's so many things here to break down. So the first one is like Nico wants to get her Balkan friends stack, which is not true. What he did say publicly, even on our podcast when he was a guest, he said he wants to like sort of end his career one day on a like with a Serbian team and try to get like a Serbian team to the major or whatnot, right? Like there's no that wasn't a secret in any case, but it's not true that now he wants to do that, or that he wants to do that now in G2, or that he was the one who requested the Nexa, or I don't even know about this Madden thing. He was the first one to mention it, and it was one of the reasons he didn't accept Falcon's offer. Also not true. And the point is, he even says at the end, I wonder if it's really true. So the problem is, when you're someone who has a following and who does this sort of shit where you tweet rumors and leaks and like roster changes and all of that stuff, so you know it's going to attract viewership and engagements and impressions and whatnot, is like you're damaging, if you're not sure about it and you're damaging someone else's reputation, you know, because you're creating this image, or actually the image that was there, you're just strengthening it, where, oh, Nico decides everything that happens in the team single-handedly, which, as we already discussed, is just simply not true. right? And then I'm glad that it wasn't just Nico, it was our guys calling him out on it, right? Because I mean, Nico is like, he doesn't give a fuck really about what Overdrive is going to tweet, or just in general, right? If it is some bullshit, he has no problem calling people out for their bullshit or social media. But there's a lot of guys out there who are just built differently, right? And they don't really respond to it, and it sort of damages them mentally, right? They have a tough time dealing with people, whether they're criticizing them or just misrepresenting them and creating a false image, and they don't really speak up. That's not how they are, right? So my point is, like, you should be extra careful when you say things that can be damaging about someone's whatever personality, career, whatever it is. You can't just fucking write it as if it's something that's a certainty or that it's a fact, and you're just shooting the shit, bro. Like, what the fuck is that? That's fucked up, no?
Well, yeah, and it's like there's just like the lack of accountability. Like there's no consequences on your end. The consequences all.
Now I saw simple. Bro, don't spend your time on lying hoe.
Which is pretty. It's pretty fucking legendary. Yeah, and I mean, like it's weird too. Like when your entire thing is like mixing in, ostensibly ones that you're saying are true and done deal, and then you mix that in with the rumors, and it just like makes it more convoluted as you go. And it's just I mean, I've never really enjoyed that side of things. So yeah, I don't know. It's whatever. I don't think it's ever going to stop is the problem. So like I have like a hard time getting too heated about it, because I'm like, this is kind of just like part of the internet and part of a scene who have people that are kind of run on social media, and that's where they make their money, is like this kind of presence. So,
and because people want that shit, they want to be surprised and to be shocked, right? Yeah. Like, and then that's why all of that shit. When you say, "Oh, can you believe this?" and right, but it sounds cool maybe, but it's just not true. But then by the time you did rebuff that, what's the fucking rebuke? No, what's the word I'm looking for? Debuff that? Rebuked, I guess. Rebuke that. The
rebuff is
it also fucking went around the world. You know how it says, like, a lie gets around the world before the truth has a chance to get out of bed. So it's already done its damage. So unless you're just a piece of shit who doesn't care about that, like, you should probably think twice before you just leak shit or do shit like that.
I think it's one of like the hard things of having like and I mean, we deal with it a lot, because I mean, in any job where you have like a public image that is pretty important to your work, it's like, it's almost like you create like a second version of you. There's like you, and then there's like the you that is portrayed by other people in public, or like the vision that other people have of you based off what is said. And that sometimes is really hard to kind of get around when that public persona is just repeatedly damaged, in a sense.
Yeah, and it is like your sort of reputation and your image. I don't have a problem telling people to fuck off when they tweet like stupid shit at me and like try to portray me as something that I'm not. But some people are not like that. They just sort of turtle in and kind of try to wait it out. But sometimes that fucking thing lasts for a while. And then what are you supposed to do? Then, like, this thing isn't really fun. It stops being fun anymore, right? So
yeah, for sure. What else has been going on in this?
Bro, not much apparently. From all this stuff. Like, I thought there was more. Like, it's been 10 days since we did an episode, but
let's see. I'm going down the news right now. Yeah, that's mostly Spinks extended a contract to 2026.
I think all the fucking thing with what happened to them with Zonic and Magisk and all that. It's like, listen, let's lock this bad boy. Let's lock this bad boy down until like 2028.
Yeah, let's make sure he's not going absolutely anywhere. Absolutely.
That's all right. I guess we're still waiting to see if and when are some of these rosters going to be official. It's going to be Blast is in 10 days, right? It's not this weekend. It's the one after that. It starts in 8 days. So that's going to give us something to talk about. You working that event?
No, I'm not. I'm done for the year. I mean, there's
Welcome
a couple
to the
small
club.
things that might pop up, some conversations, but nothing.
Okay,
on the books
Mr.
just yet.
Mysterious.
Yeah, all verbal agreements with events, no inked deals with events at the
Yeah,
moment.
don't get too ahead of yourself.
Mazzy invested in an organization that might come into Counter-Strike.
Mazzy?
What do you think about that?
What? Messi. Okay, yeah, I was like, what?
Lionel Messi.
Yeah, I think it was the one where Aguero was already one of the owners, and they're one was the best man for the other, or something like that. They're super close. I mean, it's cool anytime, it brings a little bit extra spotlight on the thing, and also funding, hopefully, which is, but then you also have Beckham behind like Guild apparently or whatever, and that's like fucking I don't know, like he's sort of like a co-owner, but actually they're paying him for him to own I don't know, it's like some weird arrangement, and it's not like they're some fucking massive brand or anything like that.
No, it's like those are the kind of deals. Like we've had those a couple of times. Like remember, like Shaq was like
in NRG, right?
As like an owner of
because
NRG
Rick
back
Fox
in the day.
I know that was Echo Fox.
Yeah, that was Echo Fox. That he had his own. He was more hands-on than most of them. But and it's like like the Snoop Dogg being an owner of FaZe that came out around the Super Bowl this year, and all that shit is like doesn't actually mean a whole lot on the front end, but I think it's more valuable on like the business and sales side of things for people to be able to say, "Yep, we have Snoop Dogg on as an owner. We have access to Snoop Dogg. We have we've got Beckham. We've got Messi. Like you have it's good names to help.
The one thing we're lacking is money, or any business acumen. But we got all this other shit.
Any sense. But we have cool names.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess this has just come to its own natural end.
Logical conclusion.
Jason.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry, guys. We'll do a better job next time. We'll find someone funny to come on with us. This is simply unacceptable, and we'll do better. Thank you so much for tuning in.
All right. Well, on that positive note, we'll see you guys next time.